of superimpose your eye and your ear and what you're capturing on top of that narrative structure, it makes it that much easier for us to be able to kind of tell these stories in a linear fashion, which makes it more digestible to someone from the outside. So in that vein, we have the three components: introduction, exploration, development, conclusion, proposals or deliverables, some language that we were kind of hoping to include. But within the introduction, it's these ideas of the students initially meeting with the community partner, initial thoughts and sketches by students. Someone had mentioned earlier the partner-student interaction, or perhaps some of those thoughts that students had preceding the initial meeting with the community partner. Where is that kind of, if we're developing this narrative, where is that initial conflict within the students' perception of what they're getting involved in? And then going through the exploration and development process, it's preliminary ideas and proposals, midterm critiques, the kind of collaborative working process, then moving towards successful outcomes. And ultimately, it comes to the final critique, in context image, the proposals, presentations, the kind of resolution of the whole class. Or lack of resolution. I think, there's no need to shoehorn some sort of cleanliness to the whole process, but what we're trying to encourage you to do is, as you're documenting the process, have some sense of where these might fit within this triad. And so that kind of makes it easier for us when I'm stepping out and trying to put this together for whatever means. We have a better sense of where it fits in the process. Now, means and suggestions. So we have photography, imagery, and this is kind of the lowest hanging fruit. We're kind of hoping and expecting everyone will be able to take photographs, and especially with the new iPhone has an 8-megapixel camera. It's really easy to capture good imagery and good video as well, but by and large, imagery is helpful because it just is something that I can pull on as quickly as possible.
Please note the center is not able to provide iPhones for those.
Right,
yeah. We may not already
But the students, every student has a camera.
Yeah.
Everyone, and it just get them,
yes.
demand that they bring their cameras at every single class.
Because they're going to have some great little insights.
Yeah.
So they're going to see some things. They're going to have some stories attached to those images. If you're able to really drill down and kind of provide the student with a sense of ownership of documentation, I don't think there's anything more impactful for that student for their own ability to reflect on the process, but also as they're moving through it. From my own experience as a student, I found that to be true. The things that stuck with me and the kind of values that I pulled from coursework was based on those beautiful little insights, saying like, oh, I see it, and you get to talk to it about somebody. So I really encourage you to encourage your students and kind of keep them on that. The kind of next rung up is this print publication. Russell has done such a wonderful job with his YVCA book, but the ideas of thinking of your course in this kind of narrative framework and then capturing things through imagery and being able to attribute particular images to a moment in the course makes it that much easier to just put this on page. And if we have the kind of funding capacity, or if I have the time capacity, we can work together to get this stuff printed. But moreover, for our this document, this FAQ sheet, all these images, we spent most of the time for this document culling the right images to talk about our values. And if all of you have a sense of who we are sitting in this building, but if you're coming into this document cold, what does each one of these images, what is the story that it tells? And how are we telling that story? And what do we want people to understand about CCA as a creative institution, or the students that come out of it? At a high level, we all have this responsibility to be able to kind of represent the school, but also represent creative practice at the highest levels of academic pursuit. And then third is video and web presence. You guys are all doing blogs. Now knowing that, I think that I'm going to take a more active role in kind of bringing those together in one place. If that's just like a link page, or if there's a way that we can figure out some sort of stylistic guidelines, or I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm going to mull that over, but if you're all individually doing this work, there's no reason why we can't kind of leverage the potential of all these tremendous resources and point people in that direction, especially students that are looking at the institution. It's very exciting.
I just before I forget, I have this one really nerdy thing about blogs. If you ask the communications office about blogs, they're going to point you towards the WordPress CCA blogs, and that's WordPress.org. There's also WordPress.com. WordPress.org does not have the add-ons available that you do have in .com, and so add-ons like subscription. So I got halfway through my blog and then said, oh, everybody's got to subscribe to it, so all the members of the class could see when there's a new posting. There's no way to do that in .org. You can't do it. So nobody can subscribe to your blog. And so that was a total dead, frustrating 2 weeks of like, what do you mean I can't do that? And the only thing to do, and then you can't transfer it over, so you just have to start over. So I would call everybody investigate that before you go into the doc, and it's a really seemingly innocent mistake, but it made a huge difference because the blog will sit all by itself and nobody, you have to like, hey, did you check the blog? And they have to go look for it every time instead of getting an email saying, hey, there's a new posting.
I use the .com too.
So
It's
.com,
easier. Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
but the communications office will always say, oh no, you want the official CCA WordPress.org site, and don't listen to them. Unless they've corrected that.
I'll stare at that forever. But the more that we are able to kind of coordinate and think strategically about these assets as like engage the ecosystem, I think the better, because at one level or another we're all moving in the same direction. And the more that we can support each other, the better it means for this in particular year, and it means moving forward, and the more that students will recognize the innate value of this coursework, and also fellow instructors, and it will kind of stoke that fire. So we're really keen on moving forward with that. Now from Queer Comics, we're talking about kind of interviewing, some of the students' heroes, and this is a great example of this quick and dirty video documentation. And what made it so interesting is that it wasn't done with an iPhone at her home, and it was conducted by students. And there is nothing more exciting to me listening to someone being able to step outside, and you didn't need to go to the media lab and get the camera and the mic, and set it up and set up the framework. And I needed a videographer, and there was all these kind of layers that made it tough. It's, oh man, this is really interesting. And it can be dirty and loud and noisy, and it doesn't matter. We can go back and kind of figure out how to make that part of what we're trying to talk about. But I think taking that agency and capturing your own stories and being able to have that ownership of the story you're trying to tell, and then sitting down with me and we can work and figure out how to kind of get that out there, that's what I'm looking for as the kind of the design and communications person within the office. So what I really want to encourage everyone to do is to kind of be fearless in your documentation and be really generous with what you're providing us, because the more work you do, the more work I can do, and then the more interesting stuff comes back into the program. So that's that. What we're going to do is Charlie Sheldon and Rachel Robinette ran Design for Elders, which was a really great course, and they put together a video which we've kind of finished up, and this is at the kind of high end of the production and effort scale, but I think it does a wonderful job of talking about Engage in the center and the initiative, and perhaps this is something we can all kind of aspire to.